Alright, hello. This is the Anim2Ed video that I wanted to make because I just kind of want to explain my thought process and just kind of why I chose to make this and why I labored for 4 months to do something like this. But let's just get into it. So this is Anim2Ed. This is a editor for the .anim2 file format for the Binding of Isaac Rebirth. It might be used in other games, I guess. I mean, I don't know what Nicholas did, but it's primarily used for Isaac Rebirth and to assist modders and developers and anyone who is interested in animating things for the game. So I did this because there was a proprietary editor that was given with the game, just called Isaac Animation Editor.exe, and I was kind of dissatisfied using that. It just really wasn't my speed. It didn't really work out for me. I'm on Linux personally, and it's a Windows program, of course, and you got to run it through Wine, or I guess you could use Proton or whatever. But basically, my experience with it wasn't the greatest. I just felt it was kind of clunky. Using it on Wine, opening files is annoying and all this crap. So I just elected to say, like, hey, I have skills. I can program, I think, maybe. And I wanted to see if I can make a animation editor. Like, how hard can it be? I could, it's going to take like a month or 2 weeks, just to get something out. And I think I said this back in June or July of this year, and it's currently November 14th. So as you can tell, we were at this point. So it certainly took some time to get to this point. A lot of trial and error. This is actually, if I had to say, this is probably I would say my fourth or fifth time totally rewriting the program. It just, I'm kind of a perfectionist, and I had an initial release, and it was kind of janky, it was kind of buggy, it was kind of a piece of crap, and I'm like, okay, back to the drawing board, and then I did it again, and then it wasn't good enough, and I'm like, okay, back to the drawing board, and this is how things are created. It's through a process of iteration, of repetition, and learning, and figuring things out, and I've never done something quite like this before, working on kind of a recording, right? Yes. Okay. Sorry, I was being a schizo. But I've never really done something like this before, and I really wanted to, test myself and work on things. I've certainly worked on some projects before. This is actually the I would say my first big project. That's actually I've done stuff before, but this is my first actually functional, usable piece of software. Quote functional. I think it's functional, but it's got to be tried and tested, but we'll see. We'll see about that. And so yeah, lots of iteration, about 5 months of work, and this is what we got here. This is an animation editor, quite like the one that Nicholas made, and it's got more features. It's got pretty much 90% of features. I would say 95% of features of the original. There are some things that are missing, purely because, it's just kind of a headache to do them. Isaac Animation Editor.exe was obviously intended primarily for Windows. It's not like a cross-platform thing. So one thing that it had that this one does not is there is an associate anim2 files with the program. I figure that you can just kind of set that up yourself. If you're on an operating system, you can just right-click a file, or if you're on Windows, I think you just right-click a file and say, hey, associate this program with this file, and it kind of handles that for you. And so, if you're on Windows, you can also just get that association on Windows. On Linux, it's a whole thing. You have to make a desktop entry and icons and all that. I'm just I have a file manager where I can just right-click an anim2 file and have it associate with the editor. So that's one thing. Basically, I'm just kind of trusting with the user to do that. What else? Something that is not in the editor, or not in this version, that was in the original version. One thing I should be clear about, this was made in Dear ImGUI, which is very prolific, immediate GUI. I say GUI, I like saying GUI. Some people say GUI. I think GUI just kind of rolls off the tongue, like the Kirby character. But one thing it does not have is alt codes for the taskbar. You can have shortcuts in the taskbar, here with the little entries, you have all the little things, Control S, Control Shift S, but the underline, I think it's called mnemonics. You can have an ampersand next to an end, and you press Alt N, it opens that. But unfortunately, ImGUI does not have that built in yet. I think it might be coming in a later release. I think I looked on the GitHub with the issues. and it might come later. But just for now, my mantra with this is just kind of like, how much can I offset to like the user or like MGUI or like how much? Basically, I want to make this with as little code as possible from my end. But as you can tell by the development time this took to make, it was certainly a long ass time to do. So I certainly had to do quite a bit of programming myself. I should say, a little guilty to admit this, but I did use AI. Oh no, oh, I'm very sorry about that. But if I'm not doing it through AI, I'm doing it through Stack Exchange or somewhere else. And basically, I mean, yes, you could argue, oh, you're relying on it. It's unethical. It makes you a bad programmer. But it does get results, and it did get me results with this. Just to put a percentage on it, I'd say it's like 25% vibe coding, AI slap, versus 75% me. And of course, I'm vetting all the code. I'm making sure it works. I'm making sure it's within the style. Like I always said, edit all the things afterwards. Like, this is programmed in C++, of course, and like the AI is obsessed with like adding the C++ style casts. I think they're really ugly. I know they're correct. They're ugly. I come from the C world, and like when I see like static casts and the brackets and all the types, it's just like that's a lot of code. That's a lot of words, a lot of letters just to type, like change a type to an int. Like I understand it's more correct, but like it's very verbose, and I want my code to be as least verbose as possible. And, I'm just kind of ramble on that. I like rambling, if you couldn't tell. Anything else I should address? This is made in C++, here in GUI. SCL, of course, OpenGL. This is OpenGL 3.3. I think Isaac uses OpenGL ES or something 2.0. I don't know what the original version uses, but, if I was really obsessed, I probably could have, taken the original and decompiled it and, worked on that from there. But I'm thinking like, hey, like this one had to start fresh, MGUI. It's also used in Repentagon, which is a big Isaac kind of a modding tool or modding extension. I don't know what you would call it. I'm sure the nerds who run that can correct me on that. But it's also using that. It's using a ton of other shit. So dear MGUI, it's prolific. It's everywhere. So I thought, hey, why not also make an animation editor in that format? Anything more to ramble on before I really get into the nitty-gritty of the program? I made it, run it, it's good. I think okay, well, so let's talk about what's new, what's different from the program. So as you can tell, it's the GUI looks quite a bit different. It's got dark mode. The original one didn't, so it won't bleed. It won't make your eyes bleed. It's got a nice little color palette here. Oranges, reds, blues. Here, hopefully it's easy on the eyes. I've certainly been staring at it for more than what a person should. So, what else here? Let's just start digging in. So, events here, same as usual. Each little thing with each of these little windows, they have tooltips as well. So, FX here. I'm looking at the player anim2, and these are the events here, and so you can mouse over each event and see what it's got. It's got the usual stuff. So basically my mantra is like, take everything from the original editor and just like adapt it and make it smoother if I can. But, I do want to keep that experience. If you're working from the original editor and you're transitioning to this one, it's a very smooth and easy experience, and, hopefully it's more comfortable for you. Now, you may be wondering, for the original editor, you did not have a layers, nulls, and sounds windows here. This is new, but it's not really necessary, but it's to help make things easier. So one thing with animations is that, so I have this one here, is that you can see that we have all the layer animations, as they're called here. So you have extra here, which is the only one that's actually used. One thing in the timeline here, I also have like unused things. So a lot of animations from the original game, they have lots of just kind of redundant layer animations and nulls. So if you're editing that and you want to make it easier, you can just press this button to make that easier. You also have a toggle here. This only makes the layers visible. So if you don't want to see all the cruft, like the root icon or the null icon here, the blue ones here, and the turns red when you click on it, you can click that and it'll get rid of it. If I just want to see like, hey, what's the animation actually look like? If I put it in the game, it will look like that, hopefully. So, where was I? So yes. When you have layers, sometimes per animation, like this one isn't the best example, but it's got like pretty much all of these animations have the same layer animations. But in some cases, some animations don't always have the same layer animations. So basically, like right here, pickup has top 0. If I delete it, pickup online still has it, and it still is like a thing that you can do. So, like one example that comes to mind is the siren for the boss. That animation that has like a bunch of different layer animations. This tripped me up like all the time. It's like I went into this project with like I didn't really know a lot about the Anno 2 format. Like I'm not even like I should say why I made this is because I wanted to help facilitate a mod I'm working on. Yet another resprite mod. Good title. It's I'd be changing a lot of sprites and animations in the game. I didn't. And when I was doing that, and I was working with the original editor, it's very cumbersome. Whatever. I went over this whole spiel. But I had to kind of figure out, like, hey, how does this actually work? Because I'm not, like, an experienced, like, Isaac modder. Like, I'm not, like, working, like, Feed Folio, Revelations. Like, I don't know shit about that. Like, I'm just a guy who wants to make some cool sprites of the game and want them to be animated properly and look nice. And I wanted that to be a smooth process. So I was learning through the process, and I was looking through some animations just kind of for reference. And, like, I see the siren animation has different layer animations. And I thought, like, oh, maybe they're ordered by layer numerically, but no, that's not the case. As you can see, I'm selecting and dragging, dropping the items here, and you can have a different order for layer animations, like a different draw order. So it'll draw in the same order. Like this is not like a good example here. I guess you could go to death here. Kind of gruesome. The ghost kind of draws over Isaac here. You can see, like right here, you can see that. But if you do that, it draws under. So that's kind of the idea here, and so I had to do that. And so basically what the layers window is for is like if you don't always have all layers in animations, like sometimes this is the case, like some animations only have some layers. And so what I was thinking with this is that like you can see all the layers of the animation. In the original, it's like you don't have an idea of like how many layers there actually are. There's kind of an abstraction in some cases. So my goal of the program is just like understand how this is actually being serialized, how this is actually looking, and how this is going to be as a file. So same thing for nulls as well. You can also have different null animations here. This is what they're called, null animations. Sometimes, like, the Anno 2 file format has different names than what actually appears in the program. So, like, for example, like in frame properties, in the Anno 2 file, the XML file, duration here is called delay, and that's weird. It kind of messes me up sometimes. And so that was kind of the whole process, is like figuring out, like, hey, like, how do things actually read, and like how they're actually exported and actually in the read. And I'm pretty sure, like 99% sure, it should work. This is not something I should be admitting, but I've not really tested like an animation from this being directly used. But I imagine it is, because like I test by like opening, like I edit a file in here and then I open the original editor and make sure it serializes correctly and it's all good. And I'm pretty sure it's good. I haven't gotten any reports about it not working now. I mean, the original one had an issue where when frames were serializing, there's triggers and frames, which are like triggers like events things and whatnot. And what I did was like I was serializing triggers as frames. I don't know actually how like again it's the original editor was proprietary. I couldn't really like look into it and see things. So I didn't really know how things really work. So I had kind of like reverse engineer it a little bit and see like how things are serializing and how they're actually like working. Essentially, what triggers are here are just like frames, or like the same thing, but like use different members in the struct. So I mean, it's you can argue it's a little wasteful, but it's very easy just to like its triggers is like an item, but it has frames, and these frames are triggers, but they're different, they act different, versus nulls and layers and roots here, which all act essentially the same pretty much, except for root here, you have crop size pivot, you can't edit those, so womp. So yeah, one thing that is totally new to this editor is sounds. Well, actually not really, because the original editor had something called use sound. It was kind of very, 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 very jank. Like, I don't even know how it really worked. Like, you could sometimes select the sound, and there's a lot of annoying pop-ups that would come up sometimes. But this one's very easy. If you want a sound for your animation, you can just go here. Well, we will change that later, but you go here, add a sound. I've added a sound here. You can even test it and play it by clicking on it. If I was being really fancy, I'd probably have like a little UI for that. But I'm trying not to be too fancy. This is taking long enough as is, and I really do not want any more time wasted on this. So basically, you have a sound here. You load it in. Each trigger can have its own sound ID, like an event ID, and you can say like, hey, this is what the sound that plays on this animation, and it'll do it right there. Isaac gruesomely dying for the 297th millionth time. So. And that's something you can do. And hopefully that's a lot easier. You can toggle sounds, of course, by just doing that. No sounds. There's like a use sound here, and so I'm I'm trying to like repurpose the UI so like pretty much acts the same, but like I also want to improve it at the same time. It's a whole thing. So those are these 4 things: events, layers, null, sounds. And let's go and explore some more. Let's do frame properties. So this is frame properties, same thing you'd see in the original animation editor. It looks a little different. One thing I guess I maybe should have done is like, well, actually, I wanted to do this, but this was annoying. It's like being able to reset the values. You could do that in the original editor, but the thing is, it's like some of these, for example, they're kind of bound together. They're vec2. I use GLM, so they're essentially 2 bundled values of like floats or ints or something. And one thing that you can't really do is like just default one value in one of these. Like if I wanted to say like, hey, I wanted to reset crop to 0 or whatever, like I'd have to make crop X and crop Y separate things to do that, or I'd have to kind of reconstruct the whole widget in GUI to be able to do that. So it's like, I mean, if you're changing something in crop or any kind of frame properties value, you can change it to whatever, and then you can press Control Z and edit it and back to where it was. I think that's probably more easy. So while I'm on that, I should say one thing that this program does and is very good and very convenient is that there's snapshots. There's a very expansive undo redo system. The original one had it, like kind of, but like it was very oblique. You really couldn't tell like what was able to be undone and what was redone if you press the buttons. Actually, I think there was only undo. I don't think there's even redo. I haven't investigated the original too much in detail, because honestly, when I use it, I get psychically damaged, and the less I use it, the better. But at the same time, I can't really get the whole details of the program if I'm not doing that. So, but basically, it should be pretty good for any purpose. The undo redo system. It's very, as you can see, when you edit something. Let's say I delete the frame here, you can press. I bound it to Z because I like pressing one button instead of 2 for something that's pivotal as undoing. But hopefully that's very easy to do. And you press Z and it's good. What else here? Change size, rotation, duration. It's all kind of. The format is kind of the same. I think it's in the same order, but like it's not actually the same way. Like there's just kind of limitations. I think what was it? The original one was, I think it was made in maybe like WX widgets or something. I don't really know. Like someone could probably tell me on that what it was actually made with. But I'm using MGUI. I did think when I was making this, like if all of my goal is just like have an animation editor, it's like I use Krita, for example, great drawing program. That has an animation editor in that, so it's kind of redundant. But at the same time, like I don't really know how you make a plugin for that to make animation or NM2 files. So I just said like, hey, like. Might as well just have it be its own thing, just like the original editor. So this just explain my thought process, which I really like doing. One thing that is new in frame properties, so you have crop, size, position, pivot, scale. One thing that is new are these 2 buttons here, flip Y and flip X. Now, the original format did not allow mirroring; it still doesn't. So what this does essentially is that if you hit flip X right here, just it changes the scale to be negative, and what this does is it kind of cheats scaling. But like this is something that is actually seen in some animations in the base game. They use a negative scale to mirror the thing. I'm reminded of the mother or witness animation where one of the arms, both arms are the same, but like one just has a negative scale. And so this only works if your pivot and root are all correct here. Like if you change the pivot here, like I don't know, to 128 or whatever, and then you hit flip X or flip Y, then it's not necessarily correct. But we'll go back all the way to the beginning here with that. So that's one thing. It's there if like you already have it set up, and like as the tooltip says, the NM2 format does not support mirroring. So just a little warning. It's a little helpful cheat. But you also have the fancy MGUI color edit widgets here that give you a nice little range here. The original one was very, very jank. I mean, it's just like it's very, very jank. And thank you, Omar, for your beautiful, beautiful program, your beautiful library. I really appreciate MGUI. I mean, it's an industry standard. Like Nintendo's using it. Literally any company is using it. Like the biggest companies are reliant on this one guy and this whole project. So if you're an open source software guy, I mean that's just who knows? If you write something, maybe a lot of people will use it, and you'll have that effect on the world. But yeah, basically, it's got all the frame properties, it's got all the little widgets here, and everything that the original one has as well. So interpolated here. One thing that did catch me up is that the original one also has interpolation. If on the timeline here, you click a frame, and then you click Alts, you can toggle the interpolation like that. So that's a little feature. My goal is to get all the little features as well as to be totally comprehensive, like a total replacement for the original editor, so I don't have to think about it ever again. I mean, no offense to Adrian, the guy who wrote it, but it's just like this is to help Isaac be eternal, eternal God. But it's just to be a nice tool for modders, because this game is probably going to be modded for a very long time into the future. So I just want to make sure that if you are modding this game, it is at least in terms of animations. I mean, I don't know, maybe I'm not too crazy about making rooms or whatnot, but just for animations, it's as smooth and easy as possible, and it's helpful. So, on to the next thing. Sprite sheets. That's a little different. In the original one, you had a checkbox next to each sprite sheet, and there's like a whole thing with like select all and select none. You can just use typical shortcuts now, like escape and using shift to select multiple sprite sheets, and escape to unselect them. That was just kind of a weird limitation, but because it was weird. You had like checkboxes were like for multi-selecting things, but you can only select one thing at a time. It was just a very weird system. So like, it's only one. You can just select them normally here, and so you have add sprite sheets. You can add whatever sprite sheets you want. Here's something I have on the person, like that. You can undo it very easily, and that's adding very easy. Hopefully, you can also drag and drop images into here as well. Let me see if I can do that. Monster Skinny. There you go. Drag and dropping sprite sheets. That's something that the original one did not have. It only allowed drag and dropping and in 2 files, but drag and dropping sprite sheets is also... Actually, crap. I should also do that for sounds as well, but I kind of forgot. But whatever. I mean, it's pretty easy to add sounds anyways. I guess I'll have that in the next thing. So you can add anim2 files. You can add PNGs. The PNGs will be added to the current sprite sheet. I think it's only PNG. I mean, the Isaac only uses PNGs for its animations. So, I mean, I don't really want to do... I mean, this is just an animation editor for Isaac, pretty much. Or if you're for your own game, if you want to use the anim2 file format, it's not too hard to do serialize and parse something. I would say I've been using it honestly because it's just easier for me. There's probably better ways to do that. There's like Spine and whatnot to do 2D animations in a game, but hey, anim2, I know it. I'm familiar with it at this point. So you also have these other options here. So reload, it just reloads the sprite sheet if you saved it. So for example, this is the sprite sheet editor. Same thing as it was in the original, and my grid colors are left up. You can, I guess while I'm at it, I'll just talk about the sprite sheet editor and the animation preview as well. So you can pan, these are your tools, you can move, this moves the pivots around, you can do that. And right click with the move tool does the scale tool, it gives you a little tool tip as well. This is expanded from the original. Okay, I think it's actually not the correct snap there, but whatever. Let's do this, get rid of that. Rotate for a tool that does not work in the original, or sorry, a tool that does not work on the window. It will not. It'll give you a little no icon here if you're seeing that. So this is tell you that this tool is not meant for this. It's meant for the other thing. The original one didn't have anything like that, so it's like what tools can you use where is kind of weird. But so just to help you a little bit. Scale, you can't use it here. Crop, with crop you can have a. Oh my God! Does it not work? Oh, no, I don't have a frame right now, so you have to have a frame to crop. Oh, mini heart attack right there. So yeah, you can crop, and you can move the pivot with right click as well, so you can kind of alternate between the two tools and be useful. In terms of layout, you might want to have animation preview and oh yeah, it's one thing I should mention: docking. It's the in-GUI docking. It's very smooth. It's sexy as hell. It's great. You can kind of preview things at the same time. I like just having it on the same kind of thing. I think that's easier. A lot of other people might prefer having it separate, but I think just kind of alternating between them is easier. But because it's like this is like your main thing. It's kind of like you don't want like both of them at the same time because it's going to take up a lot of screen real estate. So I like having it like that, but. That's the default thing. I mean, I probably should make that maybe not the default, but I'm pretty sure people are. It's pretty easy to move things around. So hopefully, I trust the user in terms of customizing the program to their liking here in terms of doing that. So, all right. Well, back to sprite sheet editor cropping. One thing you can do is draw. Of course, again, I don't really know why you would use this, but this is in the original, so I felt obligated to put it in this. But like you can draw in the sprite sheet, and add little pixels. Like, I mean, it's useful, I guess, but like, why not just like offset that to like a drawing program like Sprite, like, or Krita in my case. But it's in here. I feel like if you want to make little edits to the program or the sprite sheet, rather, you can. And it's, I mean, like, hey, if like you're working on it and like you see a little blemish in the sprite sheet, like, oh, I forgot to remove that pixel or whatever, you make little changes. I guess that's the idea behind that. I think Adrian in his original animation editor video, he talked about that. It's like, hey, like maybe you need it, like, hey, it's just in case. And of course, you can erase as well. I think if you right-click with drawing, you can just kind of toggle between the tools here. So if you're drawing, you can then right-click with erase, and likewise with erase, you can right-click to draw. Let's get rid of all this. What is happening to this poor ghost of Isaac? It's lost here. You can also use the color picker and get the color. It comes with a little tooltip now as well. One thing that was in the original is that this color here for tools was in here. I felt like, like you're probably gonna want that like by the tools. It's like I felt that made more sense rather than like here's a tool, it changes the value in sprite sheet editor that's only here. It's like I felt like it made more sense to do that. Also, there's a shortcut for a reason due to my implementation of the tools. It's a whole thing, but you probably don't need that. So yeah, sprite sheet editor here. We'll go to talk about the animation preview as well. You can pan, middle, and move stuff here. You can move things around. Very cool. You can rotate. Oh, one thing that was in the original that is in this is that you can use the arrow keys to edit things here. So I'm using the arrow keys, and you can just move things around like that. I think that's pretty cool. Like if you want to make minor adjustments, like the kind of the flow of the program, it's like it's sometimes keyboard, sometimes not. I mean, I probably could look at that more thoroughly. Like you can use the keyboard here certainly to move frames and whatnot. I think it's kind of a combo keyboard mouse program, I guess. But I probably could look into making it more totally keyboard centric. There is something in GUI it's like keyboard navigation. I did disable that because there was some bugs with it. But I probably could. Oh, excuse me, I had lasagna for lunch. You could do that and have the keyboard navigation work better here. Like I don't know really, but that's something for the future. It's like I'm really kind of over on working on this. It's like if someone requests a feature, it's like I really want it, like I'll add it in. That's kind of where I am at right now. This is kind of like this is finished software. Okay, so this is finished software. I mean, hopefully, anyways. If I want to add something more in the future, I can. But I think this is pretty good enough for most animating purposes in Isaac. All right, so yeah, what else we got here? Scale, of course. You can scale. You can also shift. This is new to the animation editor. You can scale and just you might want that in some cases. I don't know if you just typically in Isaac you have it's squash and stretch, so you'll have something like this and whatnot. And again, you can also use the arrow keys here. Increase the step here. I think that's pretty good. I don't think you want any more with that. Let's go back all the way. Oh my god. Man, I really fucked up everything here. Okay. Okay. It's the undo stack limit is to 100 or something. So in most cases that'll be more than enough. I hope so. All right. So scaling, cropping doesn't work here. All the drawing tools, and of course you have undo and redo as well. This is something that I really wanted in the original. It's like if you make a mistake, it's like sometimes you can't undo it, sometimes you can't. You can. So it's kind of inconsistent. So. Oh yes, I'll also show the top little bar here. You have all the options here. Grid, of course, toggles the grid. You can change the color. You change the size. New, this is offset. You might want that in some cases. I don't think the original one had that. But typically 0 will be fine. Zooming, of course. The original one was weird with zoom. It's it was certain values. It was a drop down. You picked one. It's what? So it's just a simple thing here. You can just mouse to change the step. Goes all the way 1. It's configured to use multiples. So in settings configure here, you can change the zoom % step here, and that'll do that for you. So if you want to zoom in faster, you can go here, change that to 100% or something, and it goes very fast. But I think 50 is pretty good for most purposes here. I think that's going to work for people. So, one thing you might have noticed, if you're scrolling in the original animation editor, it was based on the top left, like the origin, the focus. I don't know what you would call that. But now here it's based on the cursor. So if you have your cursor here and you zoom in, it centers in on that. It's like a typical in a drawing program like a Krita, for example. So it's very smooth and easy. And likewise for Sprite Sheet Editor that works on that. I think that's going to be a lot easier for people. So yeah, center view. It centers the view, obviously. One thing that is new here is fit. And what's that do? Basically, it just changes the bounds of the animation, or sorry, it sets the size and pan and frame and zoom of the animation preview to fit the animation, so it totally fits in the area you selected in here. How does this work? Basically, animations have their maximum bounds. So if you play the animation, you see that the rectangle is changing. So what that does is it captures the maximum extent of the rectangle. So you can see it reaches up here and kind of squishes to the sides here. And so if you hit fit, you'll notice that it'll kind of perfectly fit within there. And if you scroll it, or you change the size like that, you can hit fit, and then it'll do that. So I think that's a pretty neat feature. You might want that in some cases, like for rendering animations. But I did expand rendering animations to also capture the raw aspect of it. I can't really show. Well, I mean, I could show it, but I'll show it in a bit. Continuing background, change the background color. This used to have an alpha value, but I think it was a couple of days ago, or 2 days ago, or maybe yesterday. Honestly, I'm losing track of time working on this. I used to have it so you can also change the alpha, but in some cases, do I still have this here? Let's see. Smart Fly right here. Boom. See this this kind of alpha little circle, this semi-transparent little circle around the fly here? This caused issues when it's transparent, because I essentially learned what alpha compositing is, different OpenGL blending things. Like transparency is a nightmare always in graphics, and I got a taste of that certainly. So, and it's by working on that, I saw why they made the decisions they did in the original editor. They didn't have a alpha on the background because that's going to screw up the blending of something. So, and for example on this, the yellow here, on some things, if I change the alpha here, it was right here. The circle here was all screwed up, and that was not good, and I had to kind of redo all that. All right, well, basically back to this here. Axes, toggles the axes. You can change the color as well. These have alpha because they're not really important for the animation. They're behind everything. So you also have the return of the overlay here. This is it overlays an animation onto the other, so you can see that. It comes with everything here. So if you want to see another animation while you're working on it to reference or something, you can see that. And you can change the alpha here as well. And same thing as the original editor, but if you want to. And you have the other options here. Root transform. It's if you're moving the roots, you can see that it's it's moving things along. But if you disable it, it moves it. I think that probably should be. It doesn't matter. Whatever. It's not really important. Most people will have root transform. I'll look into that in the future. But you also have pivots as well. Shows you where the pivots are. The little center essentially of your sprites or your layer. What's new here as border as well, shows you the border that the sprite currently takes, the range of what it has. And one thing that was a personal request by someone is alt icons here, and what that does is let's go to something with null here. If you have alt icons enabled, this kind of makes it a circle with a dot in it. I've been told this is useful to someone. I can see it. I guess it's a little less visually noisy. I think I also get Isaac the game uses hit circles as well, so that kind of might give you a better idea of how things are. The actual hitboxes. Apparently, I don't know too much, but apparently that's the case. Did I also go over the options here in Spreadsheet Editor? We also have grid, the same thing. Snapping is used for crop tool here. Did I say that? Yeah. So you can select the frame, you can crop, and it'll do that. But if you disable it, then it only goes to the pixel here. So you can just do that and get a nice little crop. And you can change, of course, the grid size to change the snap here. So that's very nice. Same thing in Spreadsheet Editor here. You have center view and fit. It does the same thing. So if you want a better view, you can press one of those buttons. These also have shortcuts, by the way. This is one big thing in the program, is that there's a very expansive shortcut feature. And you can configure these shortcuts right here in settings, all of them here. Some sane defaults here. What I like doing is setting undo to Z. That's very useful for me. But some people like Control Z. But if you have any concerns about how the keybinds are, don't come to me. You can edit them yourself. So not a problem. Change the crop a bit here, so you can fit, center view, and background. Changes the background color, and transparent, of course, if you want like a better view. Of course, use these fancy little checkered board pattern you see in a lot of graphical programs, also in the original as well. And border just toggles a little dotted border around the sprite sheet, so you can see where you can draw things from. So you can't transcend that. Yeah, I think you'd have on border most of the time, but I guess maybe you'd want to disable it. I don't know, but that's that. I think that's a pretty good comprehensive overview of that. Went over the tools here, went over animation preview, sprite sheet editor, frame properties, all these here, sprite sheets. So let's look at animations here. So of course you have all the animations here for your little dude or whatever you're animating. You can scroll down, you can add something here, and you can change that. It'll borrow whatever is the last selected reference animation. There's like a difference between selecting and being referenced. Being referenced, I mean, you can see it kind of in the animations here. You have the italicized ones and you have bold ones. Bold ones were in the original animation editor. That means the default animation. It's whatever animation is the default for the program. I probably should say it so that it's like the selected one by default, but whatever. It's not too important. But yeah, essentially what the italicized means is the one you're currently seeing, because there's a distinction between selection and being referenced, because you can also now select multiple animations at a time, and like, ooh, what can you do with that? Well, you can delete all animations, you can make a shift range, you can, one thing here is merging, so this is also something in the original, you can merge animations together, but if you press that, it opens this big pop-up, and like, it's useful, but sometimes you might want something quicker. Just to go over this so you can, okay, so this is all the animations that are currently not in the not the one you selected. As you can see, you can't see the pickup animation here, but you can select all the animations here. It's a typical shift range, control, toggle, whatnot, all that stuff. And you can prepend frames, you can merge them, you can append frames, will add them onto the other frames, replace frames will, for each one, it's like going to see like, oh, there's frames here in this index to replace that, so there's prepend frames, which is like the opposite of append frames, and there's ignore frames, which is also kind of like replace frames. It's kind of weird, but I don't really know why that is. And delete animations after, so let's say I want to like merge everything, you can do that into one big animation right there, so that's pretty cool. But there's also a quick merge thing, so like in most cases I imagine you probably just want to like append frames to an animation, so this is also something I borrowed from Krita, which is, I love Krita. You can just press Control E and it'll do a quick merge and just quickly kind of combine the animations together, so that might be useful for some people, might be. One thing is that there's a little like merge tag for things. Like, I mean, you could just quickly edit it, if you want to change the name of that. But like merge is a good way to distinguish that, like, you merged it. So, because in the original it would just say like the name of one animation that was in it. It was kind of weird. So I think having that tagging as merge is also pretty useful. Yeah, you have adding animations, of course. You can duplicate animations, very easy, very nice. Sorry, that's selected. Merging, of course, remove animations. You have shortcuts again, so you can use delete key. These are bound to these things. Control E, Control J. These are the default. And default, of course, just changes the default animation to that. So there you go. All right, so that's animation, sprite sheets, frame properties, all these. Let's have a look more at the timeline here. So, oops, got an email or something. You have all this right here, all the frames in one place. So new to this animation editor that I'm quite proud of is that you can now multi-select frames with the same kind of shortcuts as used in the typical thing. You can use Control A to select all frames in an item. Use Shift Range right here. Works sometimes, I guess. Hopefully enough. Control the toggle frames here. Actually, can you not have a range? Whatever. You're probably also typically going to want to select frames in a range and not like a weird kind of like semi-off and on like little strings. But I think this is more than enough for what a person would need. So well, before we get to frames, let's also get to the items here. Of course, you got roots, the layers, nulls, triggers. If you want to change the sprite sheet of a layer, you can just double click on it. You can change the name in the sprite sheet. In the original one, you had like one window for both layers and nulls, and it looked kind of weird. But that's one thing. You can change the visibility here. It'll kind of. Oh, this is also new. It'll change the color here, so you know which ones aren't actually visible. In the original, it was kind of hard to tell at some points. Well, this is mostly applying to the frames, I think. There was like a color change in the original for the item here. I've been calling these items here, these little things in the animation. You have like the root animation, you have the layer animations, you have the null animations, you have the triggers. I've just been calling them items. I guess you can call them animations within the animation. I think items is a simple catch-all for them. So, let's also talk about this here. There's a little thing you can hover over, and it'll tell you like, hey, like you can do these things in the animation. Because a lot of the things in the original animation editor, they weren't really told to you in the animation editor directly. So there's no like actually like a help feature for the animation editor. Like you'd have to watch a tutorial by the guy who programmed it to get the gist of what you could do with the animation editor. And even then, it wasn't comprehensive. It was an older version too. It was pretty much people had to like figure out how it actually works. So I hope with the tooltips and everything, I've been very laborious and diligent with adding tooltips to everything. So you can say like hey, like this does this and does that. It's only in English though, and if you don't know English and you want to know how this program works, sorry, you better learn English. Sorry. Layer properties here, you can change that. Something with nulls here is the rect as well. And what's that do? Essentially, it has a little rectangle that comes around, and instead of the icon, it shows that instead of the null. I mean, I think it's useful, I guess. It's like to kind of show you like where it is, like in general. Like, I mean, I don't know if you really want to do that, but like I guess you can. It's an option if you want to do that. That was part of the original editor, which is weird because in the files, sometimes is show rect was not something that was actually like shown in the file format. It was only in some of them that had it, so it was like off and on. I think how I have it here is like if it's false, it just doesn't serialize into the file, but if it is on it, it then will show. You know, it's a little less verbose for each null animation. But there's that. Change the name, of course. Triggers here. Triggers. I guess we'll get into the frames here as well. You know. Let me do. You have also two handy options here. Unused. I think I talked about this earlier, but unused layers nulls are hidden, and the layers as well. So you can set it to only view the layers. You can set it to only view the used layers. Went over this. So triggers, you can use just mouse over to move the at frame here, and you can do the same ish with the frames. If you press Control and then you move them, you can change the duration of the frame. This is also something in the original editor. You also have some additional options here. You can shorten frames, you can extend frames like this. You can move between frames with F6 and F7. These are default key bindings. If you don't like that, you can change them like that. It'll go between the items here until you deselect it, or to the limit here. I think that's fine. You have that. You have extended frames like this. Oh, what am I doing? Oh, this is insert frame. Sorry, F6 is insert frame. You can also just press insert as well. Or, well, you used to. I guess that's another thing I can look at. Oops, another bug. What's that? Like 3 bugs I found so far. But you know, if you want to do that, you can. Click F6 to insert frame. It'll take whatever properties from the currently selected frame, or if you don't have any frame selected, it'll just adds it to the beginning. Or no, that's Sometimes it works. Okay. Sometimes it works. Okay, that's another thing to look at. You know, it's time. This timeline was so hard to get right. I mean, with all these like rectangles being drawn, all the text being drawn, and like to have it not also lag the crap out of your computer, because how I had it before is that with these little rectangles, it was drawing all of them in an animation at one point. And so if you can have your animation length be very, very, very long. I think the limit is 1,000,000. That's how it was in the original animation editor. So you can set like a duration to like a 1,000,000 or something, and then you can fit animation like, whoa, your animation's super long now. But like in this case, back in the day, it used to, you know, because it was not culling the drawn little rectangles here, and so it was very costly. And you know, let's get rid of that, so you don't have to have 1,000,000 length. But you know, I think if you are having 1,000,000 length animation, I think you have serious problems. I think that's like 9 hours. Like if you're making something that's 9 hours long and you're making 3 feature-length films and 1 animation, I think it's time to separate that up. But I'm just trying to be comprehensive here. So you know, I mean, I think 1,000,000 is also the limit in the original, so I just kept the limit here too. Yeah, if I was really nerdy, I could make it like the you know, the unsigned integer 32-bit limit or whatever. But you know, there are limits within everything, so just don't be too crazy with the program, and you won't break it. So yeah, controlling, you can change the duration. You can do that for everything here. Sometimes it works. And the original one was kind of okay. What I'm doing here is you can also move frames between things as well, and you can do that. Can you do that between here? No, you can't, but you can move frames between other things as well, like that. Kind of useful, but you can also copy, paste, course. Copy, paste as much as you want. You can also, with the multi-select, select multiple frames at a time and paste all of them. Very, very convenient. This is a highly requested feature, and I do quite agree with these people. It's quite useful. In the original one, you can only do one frame at a time for everything, which is kind of cumbersome and annoying. So you can have that at least. So quite useful, I would say. Also, new feature, totally unique to this program: onion skinning. If you don't know, onion skin is essentially saying like, hey, like give me a preview of frames before and after the current frame. So you can toggle it here with O as well. It's a default keybind. And you can say like, hey, I want to see like 5 frames after, 5 frames before, or before whatever. And you can see that like, ooh, it's cool, like a little silhouetting effect. So like if you want to kind of like, this is very useful for animators. Like they want to see like what's coming up next and what's before. Oh my God, that's lasagna coming out. You can do that and be quite useful for some people, I suppose. And of course, if you only want to see not the border, you can just disable that, and you disable the icons as well with this here. So that's quite something, and pivots as well. So if you just want to do that, it's very, very useful. And you also can draw it above or below the original. I mean, I think in most cases you want below, but maybe you want above, just to cover my bases. All right, that's kind of the main gist here. Well, actually, we have the below area here. Oh yes, I forgot to talk about adding layers and removing them. Now, as I talked about before, you have different, sometimes animations have different items, and so what I do is how I handle that is that when you click add, you can add an item, and you also, in addition to the original, this is just kind of the expected, like what you expected coming from the original editor. It's going to add a new layer for everything in the animation, right? This is what the global locale does, this is what I called it. And as it says, the item will be inserted to all animations is not already present, and if it's local, it only adds it to this animation. So you can add a new layer here, and it takes a sprite sheet, right? And well, currently it's unused, so it's not being shown, right? So there you go. You have your new Sneed animation here, and you can edit that. That's only local to the animation, right? But you can see it here in layers here. So this is all your layers. So just to make that kind of easier. So if you want like some animations, and we have some layer animations or some layers, you can do that. It's pretty easy. Same thing with null animations here. So also you can add a layer here, right? And let's say I have like a new Sneed layer here. You go here and click add. Let's say I want to add an existing animation. It gives you the layers that are currently not used in the animation, so you can add that very easily. And that's I could probably move this a little bit from the pop-up here, but pop-up's a whole nightmare. You can also change this the size of the window here, and the pop-up will move with you. And that was a whole thing. Back in my original animation editor, I did it based on pixels and not like the scale of the window and like general units, and that was not advisable because that is not scalable to different monitors at all whatsoever. Actually, what I probably should have done for this video is that we're going into settings now, and you can change the UI scale. Now, when you have a 4K monitor and you open the program for the first time, it should detect that and also give you like a better UI scale, so you can see a lot more, and it's very big. I should probably have it. Let's do 125 here. You can set it to be very small as well, like very, very tiny. In case you have like a tiny baby monitor or something, I don't know. But just in case, cover my bases. So you have that. Okay, 125, please. There you go. So that's a nice little view there, and scales nicely. Yes, kind of on the documents here. Oh yes, one thing to talk about: documents. You can have multiple documents at the same time while working. The original, you can only have one at a time, and that was kind of cumbersome. You had to have multiple instances of the program open at the same time to edit multiple documents. And here, you can just have multiple documents at the same time. You can edit the same document in different tabs and whatnot. And as you can see here, it's not saved, so it has a little indicator for that. If you close it, it'll say the document has been modified. You want to save it. So typical, graphical program editing, it'll tell you that. And you can go back and, I didn't want to save it. It doesn't really matter. Here's the witness, by the way. Cool. They didn't update the animation name to match the change name of the boss. Kind of lazy, but it works. Go back to player here for reference. So yeah, you can have multiple documents at the same time. Very cool, very unique. And one thing that's interesting is that only one instance of the program can run at the same time. So like if you have a version of the animation that are running and you go click some files, it'll open them up in that instance using a socket. I had to figure out how to do that. Well, actually, AI figured it out, but it's in there. So close them and make an edit. It'll mark something as unsaved instantly, so you know as soon as you change, it'll work. And new to this as well is auto saving. So I currently have it set to like a minute or something, right? So right here in File, auto save enabled, and after this time passes, it'll auto save it, and it'll save it to the same directory as the original file. So, and there's a file in settings. There's the program has its own folder, like its preferences. I think that's what the SDL calls it. And that's on Windows, it's an app data roaming anim2ed. On Linux, it's local share anim2ed. So you'll have the settings in there. You'll have your recent files, autosave, log as well. And, I mean, logging it for this program isn't too in depth, honestly. The logging is a whole headache if you want to be really thorough about it. But it's enough to maybe gauge if the program ever crashes, which hopefully shouldn't. Hopefully shouldn't. In this new version, I haven't really seen many crashes. In the original, there was a shit ton of crashes that I never really got around to fixing. But with this new version, which I rewrote from the ground up, should hopefully have no crashes. I've not really seen actually, if you render an animation with an invalid executable, it probably will crash then. But that's on you, stupid. So don't be stupid with the program. It won't crash. It will last. Oh, my voice is getting hoarse. So I talked about timeline, talked about onion skin, talked about the cool document system. Very nice. You can also drag and drop documents into here. So I'm going to do that right now. Go open up some documents here. Do that. And what you get is... it disappeared because I moused off. Oops. Oh, crap, did it? Oh, no. Okay, well, there's a bug. There's a bug. Actually, I could probably just maybe, if I delete these. And can I do this here? I'll open up one of them. We'll look into that. Actually, let me see if I can do it now. Okay, well, that's something I got to fix. But basically, you can drag multiple documents into the program and edit them and open them at the same time. And one thing you can do is also merge animations. And merging animations will essentially combine the animations. I shouldn't say animations because that's kind of the lingo is incorrect. Anim2 files. If you combine Anim2s, this is one guy requested this from me. He wanted for the Isaac animation to be able to add costumes onto it, and so that's essentially what the merge is for. It's pretty much not for anything else, so don't touch it too hard. But yeah, there's that. There's that nice little feature. Let's talk more about what else we got here. So the same kind of options here as well. You can explore an XML location. You didn't see it, but this opened up a file elsewhere. This opened up your file manager elsewhere into the Anim2 files current directories. That was the same thing, and that's a feature also from the original editor. That's in this one as well. Wizard, you might notice if you come from the original editor that you cannot change multiple frames at a time. Oh no, why is that? Because if you just select multiple frames, what's this? It's right here instead. So let's say I want all of them to be invisible. You can just say adjust here, and oh, they're gone now. Let's say I want to say for all these frames, let's say add 50 position in the X direction, and it does that, for each little thing here. So I think that's going to be more easy than having a little pop-up that only works on one frame, and you have to change the number of frames, and it's just kind of confusing. It's just you select the range you want, and it's good, and that is good. And these settings will preserve for changing the animation of the frames here. So one thing I guess I could have done is I also have you can change all the frames and all animations, but I don't know. Scope creep is definitely a problem with this program. I've definitely had that in spades. Did I also talk about the rest of the sprite sheets here? A little Gertie here. You can remove unused. You can save, of course. No, do what I expect you to. I did back in the past. I did experiment with having just a remove button that just removes the thing outright. But I understand, when you work on this, you also understand the psychology of the developers who were working on the original. It's why can't you remove sprite sheets arbitrarily? It's because some animations will use that, it'll break, and it's not good. So same thing with events too. It's what do you do with that? It's just kind of a whole thing to handle. So remove unused is the best. If you don't want an event in your animation, just make sure that all the triggers are gone and they do not have that event, for example. So save, of course. If you edited a spreadsheet in save here, you can do that. I don't know why you would with your little doodles, so do not do that. So Wizard, you also have generate animation from grid. This works the same way as it did in the original here. This isn't really a feature I use too much, but some people might use it. So you have frame size. That just you have a little view here that says hey, how many how many do you want here? It's like you can say like, it's kind of broken right now. Was it one? You have to kind of like look at the eyeball the sprite sheet while you're doing this. It's not the greatest feature here, but it's functional. So frame size is 32 by 32. Pivot, I think it's 16 by 16 here, right? Or is it 8 by 8? I don't really know. Let's say I want to. We're using. So what is the rows and columns are like? How is the what is the rows and columns of the atlas you're using, and that will do that for you. We have 2 count here, so yeah, it kind of works. I wouldn't fiddle with this feature too much. Let's do. Well, yeah, it only works if your atlas is good. In that case, yeah. Little birdie, very cute. You can also, this is new. You can change the zoom as well if you want a better view. That's not the most developed thing. It can generate, of course, it'll do that. There you go. There's your little thing. Render animation. This is big here. So this is very changed. Back in the original, you could only render to GIFs. Here, using FFmpeg, this is required if you want to generate or render animations of what types we got here. We got GIFs, we got PNGs. This turns everything to each frame to a PNG. Sprite sheet PNG. This turns your animation into a sprite sheet. If you want to go even further and make your own crazy, if you want to have animation kind of baked into a sprite sheet, you can do that. GIF, as you expect. WebM, MP4. I think these are the ones that people are going to use, so I kind of limited it. But with FFmpeg, you can do pretty much anything. So. The reason why you have to use FFmpeg for the program instead of it's just the functionality is baked in the program itself. It's try getting WebM output without using FFmpeg and try writing that it's in the codecs and crap. It's so annoying. It's I don't want to touch that. So again, if I can offset code to something else, I will offset code to something else. So you can do that, and FFmpeg will handle everything for you. It's got a predetermined command line. Input, so it just kind of runs that for you. It's like a sensible default. I think is what they call that. So, anyways, here let's go over these PNGs. You can also set the format of each PNG. So, as it says here, represents the index of each image. So, if you have it's frame blank.png, you can do that. Or default here is that. But sprite sheet PNG. It says hey, how many rows and columns you want for your sprite sheet. It'll do the default by default. Oh, it's kind of effy, whatever. GIF. As you expect, a WebM, these are kind of the same here, MP4, these are all kind of the same, yeah. Let's WebM here. Custom range, if you set that, you can say hey, I want to go to the 5th frame instead of the 7th frame, but by default it's just the entire animation. And what's cool here is you also have raw, and raw, what that does, this is by default here, so raw just captures the output of the animation. It's not all the if you don't have it checked, it gets the whole kind of frame buffer here, the blue grid. But if you have it checked, it only gets the animation here. So let's see that. So as you can see here, it rendered very quickly. But what it did is it got the bounds of the animation and just rendered to it. So if you want a perfect rendered animation from the game, you can just do that. So very useful feature. And you can also set the scale as well. So if you want a larger output scale, you can do that. I'll show you what it does when you don't toggle raw here. It just gets this frame buffer here. So make a WebM, it just gets this area here. So if you want to record this area here for whatever reason, you can. I think in most cases you probably just want the raw animation, if you want to show all your friends your cool animation. So, but if you want to, because the original editor only captured this area, so you couldn't really get a good recording of the animation by doing that. So hopefully that's convenient for some people. Playback. This is also a option in the original. Yeah, in the original we had one option here, always loop, which is if you don't have a loop set here, it would just end. But if you have always loop, it does it anyways, right? Yeah, so like that. And I added a new one called clamp here. So basically, if you disable clamp, you can change the playhead to go anywhere like this. This is what this is called, the playhead. I just learned that while working on this project. That's useful, but that also affects where is it here? Let's open up something with triggers. Player here. Go to def, used, or like that. So what that does, clamp, is it just clamps it. So it cannot exceed the length of the animation here, which is defined by here. And if you remove it, then go anywhere you want. So clamp it, and you can change that. So yeah. Oh yes, I did not talk about this other stuff here. You can insert frames, of course, delete frames. Baking is something that I don't think many people use. I think this is used when they didn't have the interpolation option already done with the animation editor, so this is kind of like a holdover, but I implement it anyways. I don't know why the window has like a cool little animation like that. It just kind of does that. But yeah, you can say like, hey, like, see this big interpolated frame here? Like, you can just say like, hey, I want that to be cooked, or baked rather, into separate frames that each have the current. So you can see how it like kind of changes when you change the frame time. Those become their own frames, so they can do one here, and then like, hey, like each one has its own little thing. So it has its own little properties as well. So that's essentially what that does. It's kind of hard to articulate what that does, but once you understand what it does, it makes sense. Fit animation length, same thing from the original. If you go over, you can see that the buttons disable themselves. It's kind of a handy little convenience feature. So you can see like, hey, like if you already set something to fit, and it'll tell you like, hey, you already did that. Animation length, you can do that manually, of course. Very useful. Looping does what you expect. FPS also does what you expect. You can have it run at a glacial speed here. Ooh, look at that. Look at him fall in slow motion. It's pretty funny. Yeah, but that's what that does. 30 is the typical. But there's something weird with the FPS, actually. It's like in the game, it's like animations render more like at 45 frames per second rather than like 30. And that causes issues, apparently. So, like, the view in an animation editor is, like, not the same as you'd see in game. But, like, that's not really something I can really fix. I mean, if you want to have, like, get a view that's more close to the game, you set, like, 45, I would say. Like, that's kind of, like, what that animation runs at, right? I mean, it's probably not as fast as that. But, like, it's something like that. It's, like, 42 or 45 or something. You can say the author here, and kind of cut off here is the sound as well. But, like, if you have, this UI scales only if you have, like, a really big monitor, so... Yeah, so you see that you can set the sound here, and robot, of course. Robot is the author, default author of the original animation editor. So I kind of keep the spirit alive. I did that as well. Sound here, that toggle does what you expect. We need to add a sound, of course. Let's add a sound. Isaac dies, nice. Do I have that enabled here? We need to set sound. Boom. Actually, render animation also captures sounds as well, so you can pretty much make like a full-ass movie in animation editor if you want to, because it's got visuals and sound. Like, you can do that. Like, you just have like a trigger with like an audio track for like the whole thing playing at the start, and you can do that. Just a little curiosity for you. Oh yeah, I didn't mention this, but trigger. This is new here. If you press a trigger, you get like a different little window here that's different from the original frame properties. This is new here. It can change the event. It can change the sound. Originally in the animation editor, it's like if you want to change an event for a layer or a trigger, it's like you had to like click it, and like here you'd have to click it, and there'd be like a very faintly soft like visible like kind of like highlight to it to indicate that's the event that the trigger is using. That's kind of stupid though, so I just kind of did this. I think it's a lot more sensible. And you can also set visible as well. You can see the text here that draws when you have a trigger here. You can set the visible. That also disabled the sound as well. So there's that. All right, so I covered playback. You have window here. This is also from the original. There was an option here like allow undock in the original that I think allowed you to have the each window go out of the base window. But with Dear MGUI, you can't really do that. So as far as I can know, without like some extreme engineering. So like this is I'm pretty sure this is what you want here. You can just say like, hey, like I don't want to see window or animations. I don't want to see sprite sheets. I don't want to see that, and you can like you could do something with that. You can like only have sprite sheet editor, like animation preview. Let's like record the whole thing at a time. Whatever you want, whatever works for you, whatever format works for you. And of course, I talked about settings. I guess we can talk about a little more in depth in here. You have UI scale. I showed it off. VSync, those are the obvious. Vertical sync, sets the update rate to match your monitors. File here, you have auto saving. Talked about this. You also have overwrite warning. So if you like, I don't know if I want to test it on this file, but like if you are saving it, actually, let me see if I can show it off. I changed it way too many times. Probably should just have it so if I press it, it's like it goes all the way, but whatever. So if you delete and you hit overwrite warning, you press Control S. It says, "Are you sure this will overwrite the existing file?" Okay. Oops. I think that doesn't actually do what that says. I'll have to look into that. Oopsies. That's the fourth bug I found while working on this, but we'll fix it in the next version. By the time you use animation after watching this video, it'll be fixed, I'm sure. So yeah, you can have that overwrite warning. Here's something weird. Repeat delay and repeat rate. This is like only for me pretty much. But basically what that does is like if you hold a key, you can see that like after a certain time, like I'm holding the left or the comma key right now to go back and forth the playhead here. You can see there's a little delay. Like as soon as I press it, like stops and then it starts registering multiple inputs. So essentially what that does is like repeat delay is like how much time it takes until that it starts repeating, and then the repeat rate is like how often it repeats per repetition. So in a typical program, this would use like the OS option for that, but the thing is with MGUI, it doesn't really work that way. You only have it in MGUI, so I had to add that kind of because I'm a freak and like I like when I can press a button like it like instantly repeats many times because I have like ADHD, and like if you don't have it, it's like you have to like manually press it all the time. It's annoying. I think that's how the original one works, so this one should probably be a lot better for people. Zoom, I talked about that, and shortcuts, I talked about that, and you also have to use default settings here if you want to go to default settings. So, all right, I think that's kind of it for the program. Like you can make beautiful animations with this. Like and I think I've gone over everything here. I guess one last thing here is that there is a credits option here. If you go to about, look at that. Ain't that spiffy? I don't know if I'm capturing audio. Am I capturing audio right now? Yeah, okay. Actually, no, I'm not capturing desktop audio. Damn it! You didn't hear all the sounds. Okay, let me go show that off. That was a little oopsie on my part. I didn't have a desktop audio enabled. Oopsie. So back to sounds here. You can have sound like this, and you can set the sound. There you go. Okay, I'm sorry about that. I'm sorry you're screaming at the screen like, "Sweet, it doesn't actually work. You have to redo the whole video." No, I don't feel like it. Sorry. But yeah, this has music. The credits music has music. Look at that. This will show you the beautiful, beautiful people who worked on this program. Pretty much me and a bunch of other people I freeloaded off of. These are the people who worked on the original one here. Okay, that music is very loud, but I stole that XM music. It's actually, I didn't steal it. It was licensed as Creative Commons 0, so I can take it as I please. So that's actually a reference to the original animation editor, which had a little XM music. XM is the kind of the chiptune tracker format, and I kind of honored that with a new XM music. Originally, I wanted someone to compose it for me, but I don't think anyone can really do that, and I didn't really know any musicians who could. So you gotta take what you can get. So what else here? So and you know what? That is about it for this beautiful animation editor. I will be fixing some of these bugs you saw in this video. I'll be fixing some of those little things and making sure it's all good. And I hope when you use this, you have a good time. Hopefully it's a lot more convenient. Hopefully it's a lot better than the original. Hopefully it doesn't give you as much trouble. And yeah, that's kind of the video. So if you have any more questions, you can leave some comments. You can harass me for being stupid and rambling and my voice being hoarse, but I've worked on this for a very long time, and I would like to be over it now, honestly. So yeah, that's it. So I'll be stopping recording right now. Goodbye.